Hi, today's video is a painting class and it's quite a long one, but I think it's really worth concentrating on because it's with the masterful Paul Klee, someone that I could do an art project on every day. Let's get started. So here is the painting that we're going to start by looking at. It's called Young Lady's Adventure, and I'm going to go up close to show you how it is divided up into pattern shapes. And we're going to be doing a layering of paint. I'm going to show you how to do it. I've always wondered how he's done this, and today we're going to go on an adventure together. I'm going up close so you can see how every single shape in the picture is divided with lines, and then he's added on colour in layers. And I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm going to turn the page, and now we're going to look at this picture. Now in this picture it's much easier to see how he has divided into a grid, and he's added layers of paint, okay? But as he goes along, he sometimes leaves a section. So this section here, he made a base colour yellow, and then he left that, and then he went from the outside and in, and he layered in. And Paul Klee was a musician, so he knew about adding layers of sound, and this is what I think he's done here. He's thought like a musician, and he's added in layers. So here's another one, the same. Now I'm going to show you, it's complicated and I've thought about this a lot, so we're going to go through it really slowly and work out how he did it, because I've always wondered. So let's get going. So here I've broken it down so that I can show you what I mean. I made a grid system. First of all, I painted it a light colour, sort of yellowy beige, and then I divided it up, and I'm going to show you how I did this. I wanted to think how he layered his paint and how he knew what colours he was going to get. So first of all, I painted from here all blue and this one all red, and then the next time I painted that all blue, and then the next time I went down one. So this is yellow, this is yellow with one layer of blue, this is yellow with 2 layers of blue, this is yellow with 3 layers of blue, this is yellow with 4 layers of blue, this is yellow with 5 layers of blue. I'm going to put this layer on now. So that is another layer there, and the important thing is to let it dry in between layers. And then for my red layer, now it's also important to keep your brush very clean when you're doing this. So here's my red that I was using. So I've already done that one, and I'm going to give this one another layer and the one next to it. So the final one is the one with the most layers, and this will give you an idea of how he has created those different shades. And I also think when he does his picture, let's look again at this one. Let's look again at this one. You can see the scale, very dark blue, lighter, but here he's just left a section. He hasn't painted that one. So when he did this one, so that was, yeah. So what I think he did was he probably painted in layers, and then he kept layering it on like that. So this section, I think he would have gone around like that, and then he would have done another layer there, and he would have gone back, missing out the layers like I have. So this one would be a wash that went all the way to there, and then the wash would go to there, and to there, and to there, and he would keep on doing it until he got these grades of colour, getting deeper at the outside. So like I did here, I kept on going, and I'm going to do another layer on that in a sec. But what I was thinking was, let's try and think like him, and let's do a drawing. So here is a drawing that I've done, and I've thought like Paul Klee, and I've filled up my page with shapes. This one's abstract, and I've filled up the page with different shapes, which I've then divided and put in other shapes. This is quite complicated, and I'm kind of learning this with you as we go along. So now I'm going to get my little blush. Now, when I looked at my original picture, I noticed that some parts of the woman's dress were quite red. So before I start putting my blue layers in, I'm just going to give a little tiny wash of red to some parts of her dress, because I want her to stand out a little bit more. And that's one of the things that I like. This is a 3-colour painting. He's just used yellow, red and blue, and actually at the end I think he might have put some black layers in, but I'm just going to put a little bit of red around here as well, so that she sort of glows in the middle of my bluish painting. See how I made that one a bit thicker? I was pretending that I'd done 2 layers. Now I'm going to get some blue, and I'm going to blue in some parts of my picture. I'm going to blue this in here. Because I'm doing it quite lightly, I can still see my pencil lines. I'm going to blue all around there. In fact, and I'm going to make this, I'm going to leave some yellow in the frill of her skirt, like that. In fact, I didn't really divide, I've got not much shapes here, so I'm going to divide that up as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my blue on this one pretty much all over, I think, for this layer, except for in her. I think I'm going to do her hair. So I'm going to put this all in blue, all of this blue. So to give you an idea, I'm just doing it live. So I'm going to carry on doing this. And even you can see where the irregular watercolour, you can even see how some sections are all looking bluer than others. I'm trying to keep it even. That would be a good idea, wouldn't it? So let's keep going. I actually drew around a postcard to make this little shape. I think I might have made it a little bit too small. It might be an idea to do a picture that's maybe twice the size. And if you wanted, you could draw the same picture twice and do it in different colours. It's a terrible brush. Okay, so I'm going up to the edge there. Okay, so now I've got, and now I actually should have left maybe a few more yellow bits, but I didn't, so I've got her yellow. And we'll look at his picture again at the end, because actually it's hard to see in real life. It's probably much more beautiful, but so there we have, it's all, that background is all blue. And while I wait for that to dry, because this is a patience project, we're going to have to be a little bit more patient, I think. I'm going to do this one, and I'm also going to do this one blue as well, but this time I'm going to leave some more yellow sections out. So I'm going to leave some of the circles so that they show up. It's kind of like you're making your own painting by numbers, this, isn't it? You can do an abstract picture, but the thing is to think, I'm going to make lots of shapes, lots of sections, so that I can go back and colour in. Like, for example, I think I wish I'd made this a bit more interesting, so I'm just going to do that, so that I can go and put more layers in. And you can be very, 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 very neat with this if you're a neat kind of person. I'm having to learn that a bit because I'm not super neat. So there's some blues. I'm going to leave a few yellow circles out, and I'm going to go back over. And okay, so almost all one colour. Maybe that bit there. Okay, so has my top one dried yet? Let's have a look. The trick is not to make your paint too wet, Catherine, isn't it, really? But you didn't. Okay, so here is this one. Now I'm going to get my blue, and I'm going to make some sections more blue. So this bit is here, it's going to be more blue, and I'm going to leave out some bits as well. Now I kind of made a bird up here. It's hard to see, so the point is to layer it so that the layers, but leave sections, so some layers are 4 layers, some layers are 5 layers, so that your things will show up nicely. So I'm going to probably leave her hair because I quite like it like that, but I might just do a few tiny bits in blue. I think you're going to be good at this. It takes a little bit of a while to get your head around it, but if you think of it as notes in the scale as they go, as you're going up the scale, and then so you're layering a scale. So this is two layers, this bit here, and this will be 2 layers as well. So I guess to start with you do more, don't you? You start with one complete layer of light yellow, and then you do a layer of blue where you leave only a few patches out, and then the next layer of blue is covering more. But actually I think when I look back at his picture, I think he actually probably went back with a little bit of black in some places, because it was a picture of a lady walking along, wasn't it? I think with the ones which are more abstract, he maybe didn't use black. But it's a great idea to have a look at Paul Klee if you have a book, or you can look on the internet. Really, really look at his work, because you can learn a lot from him. So that is, I'm going to leave that bit there. I think I'm going to emphasize this little tree that I made by doing another layer here. Sort of coming alive, isn't it? What if I just get a little tiny bit of blue? If you leave some shapes yellow, you can always go back in and put more blue on them afterwards. Okay, so that's coming along. And now let's go back and look at this one. And we'll put a bit more blue in this. I hope you can, by me keeping on doing it, I might not have explained it brilliantly, but so this is one yellow layer and then a blue layer, and now I'm going to put the second blue layer on. I'm going to be a bit more bold in this section. I'm going to build in some big blue layers this time, and then for the third layer of blue, when it's drier again, I'm going to be a little bit more, see, I've done that a bit thick. Try and keep your paint the same layers, the same thickness, so your layers a bit more uniform. Okay, so I'm going to leave that section there. So I've got this sort of passage of lighter there. And how's it going up here? Has it dried? Yeah, it almost has dried. So now I'm going to make this bit super blue, I think. Really blue. Quite dark, isn't it, that bit? Now I think this bit's a bit boring, so I might put a bit more blue in there. And I might do a bit blue of my bird's eye and stuff. And you could always, if you wanted to now, you could always add another colour. I said it was going to be blue and yellow and red, didn't I? But I don't know, maybe another colour would be good as well. What if I actually, now that I've done those layers in blue, what if I added another colour? Actually, I'm just going to do a bit more blue up here, so that those bits stand out more. And you see, if I show you back to this one, I didn't finish that yet, did I? I need to put another blue layer on for my last blue layer, last layer of blue, so I can see how intense it is. But you can see how it goes. You wouldn't think that just adding blue and adding blue and adding blue would end up like this, but it really does. So if I was a bit more patient with this, and I just added a bit more blue here, well, that bit will come more alive, and likewise that bit. I don't know, is it finished? I'm not quite sure. What if I put a little bit of blue in here as well, actually? So that bit originally I left it with just a layer of yellow, and then now I'm making 2 layers of blue because I'm finding it a little bit boring. And maybe in her eye I could put a bit of blue there. Even her face, I noticed, was made up of lots of different shapes, so perhaps I should have put a few more shapes in her dress to make it a bit more interesting. Okay, so there's my bird. Can you see him? Now I think he used black when he put another layer in, but I'm not sure I'm going to do that. I'm going to use green. I'm going to be bold and think, right, I've got nearly to the end with all these layers of blue. What about a little bit of green? And I'm going to put some green over one of these bits here. So these greens, I'm not going to put too many in, they're just little accents. I think I might make her hair greenish, a bit more interesting, so that it stands out a bit more. And then other elements like my bird, I can see them better. I think I might just green this, little bit of this bit here. So actually the blue comes through nicely on the green as well, doesn't it? So it's really about being patient, letting the layers dry, and let's go back and look at this one now actually. I might put a few more layers of blue in this. So I'm going to blue this section here, but not that little bit of moon. I'm going to leave that bit of moon. It's about building up the layers, and if you were really patient, you might have 8 layers. You might think, I'm going to make this section incredibly blue, and I'm going to build up 8 layers of blue. Or you might think, I wish I hadn't left that bit out. I'm going to colour that bit over now. It is a bit like music, I think. Some bits more intense, some bits lighter. I'm just going to paint, using my tiny brush to paint around here. And if I kept on going with this, I would end up with quite a simple but very beautiful thing, I think. And if you wanted to, I suppose, with this one here, you could maybe think, okay, I wanted to slightly emphasize the character, this character here. Now, maybe this won't work, but perhaps I could put in a little bit of dark around her. Very dark, little light dark wash. Light dark, I mean a thinner layer of dark. Just to show you where the figure of the girl is. I think he did maybe use a layer of dark. I'm going to show you his picture again. Might be interesting to put a layer of dark into your picture at the end. This is complicated and I'm kind of learning it as I go, and I think he probably experimented a lot with his painting, and you can experiment a lot with this as well. So I've layered up my blues, and at the end I've been a bit bolder and I've put in a little bit of green and a little bit of black. But you might want to just stick with the blues, and at the very end you might think, now what is the colour on the colour wheel? Remember the colour wheel, the pairs of colours? The colours that correspond. It's red and green, purple and yellow, blue and orange. Maybe a few bits of orange would make my picture come alive. So that's another element that you can put in this. You could add the contrasting colour at the end to your blue. I think that's probably enough, maybe a little bit there. Now I might come back to this and add more blue layers as it dries. But the thing to think is, I'm adding as simple as possible to start with. So I've got yellow, and then I'm adding blue, and I'm adding blue, and I'm adding blue. And at the very end I might think, is there a place where I'd like to add a contrasting colour, or is there a place where I'd like to make it darker? And that's the thing to think about. Hope this isn't too complicated. Let's take one more look at his amazing painting before we get started. There it is, isn't it great? Just spilt my water. So you can see it's made up of lots and lots of very complicated sections. Perhaps if I were you, I'd use a nice big piece of paper. He's got birds, he's got patterns coming in. So fill up your page with patterns and then start painting, and be very patient. Let it dry. Maybe have a book with you that you read while you wait for your watercolour to dry. It's quite a difficult project today, and I hope you have fun.